Hi, this is Mike making my video. Today is the 9th of March 2025. It's about 9:30 p.m. I'm talking about manifestation, miracles, magic, and the psyche, the human mind. Basically, I came to the conclusion that, during a sign of weakness, when you're at your wit's end and basically you have a fight or flight response or focus or fold, and usually what happens, you have a focus or fold instance where usually what you do is you fold, and as a result of folding you show a sign of weakness and you submit to the universe, and your body, as a survival mechanism, releases DMT. And basically, DMT is released and a large flood of it, and basically, as a result of that, your mind receives a large load of DMT while you're awake, in a waking state, and you basically submit, and then when you empty yourself, what happens is the universe will fill your cup, and make it overflow. But you'll be given a lot of wisdom, more or less, a great deal of wisdom, and your cup gets filled, and it's filled, usually with special knowledge, basically, knowledge of, things that you normally don't see or hear, and then, your eyes become opened. And so when you basically possess nothing, know nothing, and desire nothing, when you have those three things in alignment, what happens is your body releases DMT, usually as a result of being at your wit's end, being on your last line, and your body releases that, and then what happens is miracles are produced. And it's like being high on mushrooms, and you have this flood of DMT, and then DMT is a psychoactive element that is prevalent in when you do mushroom ceremonial mushrooms and stuff like that, or peyote and LSD and stuff like that. So what you have this flood of neurotransmitters that are solely in charge of you having spiritual enlightenment. So you more or less have epiphanies and stuff like that you see, and it's not usually singled out to just one epiphany. Sometimes it can be multiple epiphanies, up to about 7 of them. And you have these epiphanies, and then you have to be predisposed to that. You have to have almost kind of like an element of you have to be receptive to that. They say that you put these seeds on prepared soil, and they take root and they grow. And that's kind of what they do, is they germinate and they're growing in your mind, and then they express themselves later on in life into something very large. But you have to be predisposed to it. It's almost like you have to have kind of a psychoactive disorder, like schizoaffective or something like that, or even schizophrenia or bipolar with psychotic features, and you have to be kind of open to that, and a lot of times it runs in bloodlines. So you have to be born with it. It runs in the blood. So you have that, and then what happens is it's almost like, uh, it expresses itself later on in life, and then you have, basically elements of that. So, when it first represents itself, it comes across as kind of like a disorder or a deficiency. But if you learn how to tame that bull, learn how to tame that lion, let's say, and then what happens is it can be your best friend, and then the fire, basically your mind gets tamed, and then it can express itself, and it can show you things that you never knew were possible, and you can't believe. You'll get to the point where you're just astonished, and it's kind of like, you seek until you find it, and then when you find it, then you'll be disturbed, and then when you're disturbed, then you'll marvel, and then you rule over all. So in that whole explanation, it's kind of like you keep seeking it, and then you find it, and then you're disturbed when you first see it. You go through a period of being disturbed, and then when it expresses itself, you marvel, and you see the miraculous event taking place, and then you rule over all after you marvel, and you see that you're in a position, when you submit to the universe, and the universe submits to you, and then you see that you have power over the world, and you conquer the world. So, a lot of people are not privy to this knowledge, and they're not they're not aware of it, and then it's like only the select few can find it. So, with that being said, that's kind of the magic that's behind it. That's what happens, and there's other things too, but when you got this powerful fire, and you learn to control it, you learn to tame it, and then you guard it till it blazes, and then when it blazes, then the Kundalini fire takes off, and then when you have this fire, this element of energy and great fire, it burns off all the chaff, and then the subtle ideas and the big ideas, the gross ideas, it builds on. So it's kind of like getting the canes that are pruned, and then the fruit it produces in your mind. And then the canes are taken off, all the dross is burned off, and then you have nothing but shiny, beautiful silver or gold. So, you think about it, all that dross, all that wasted elements of wasted energy and wasted, things. And then you have a lean operating system, later on in life, where, you turned in all the seeds, basically the wheat and the chaff get separated, and then all the wheat gets packed down and set in your lap, so you have your mind, it's a smaller package, but you have less ideas to build from, there are not as many aberrant thoughts, and you don't have as many crazy aloof thoughts, basically, and then what you have is a lean operating system. So, that's really ultimately what it is. And then after you have a succession of, let's say, 100 miracles, let's say, and these miracles are major miracles, and they're not lesser miracles, even the lesser miracles as well, but the major miracles, the subtle and the gross, the subtle, the minor miracles, and the gross, the major miracles. And then you have it all, and then basically what happens is you have a lean operating system, and you're basically to the point where you're no longer searching for certain things, you're no longer interested in certain things. Like I'm not interested in cars as much as I used to be, and I've got my cameras and whatnot, but then I got laptops and cell phones and watches and stuff like that. But then, after all those ideas have expressed themselves, then it's actually living a simpler life, and living kind of a minimalist life, and then it's basically I have a lot of miracles. I can rest on my laurels, and I can always go back to that. So anyway, that's really what it is. That's ultimately what it is. And you have, basically a bunch of thoughts, that you no longer visit anymore. And then you have a lot of thoughts that, you still have. You can always rest on your laurels and go back to them. But, ultimately, if you talk about treasures in heaven, and in like the mind, you talk about all the beautiful things that you've done and the things that you still seek after, and then some of those things, are worthless pleasures, that are just empty. But then again, some of those things are, with you forever, and they can't be taken away from you. So anyway, that's really what it is. And of course, it's not wasted energy. It's basically directed at the right things. And if you think about the miracles that you've done, you can't explain them. There's no way of explaining them. There's just no possible way. There's no way to wrap your mind around it. They're ineffable, and those things are precious and priceless. And you got to figure the costs associated with getting them, and how much it costs to do that, and what's left over after the fire, is yours. If you think about it, the fire being the Kundalini fire, and you're burning off all those seeds and the wheat and the chaff, and then what's left over, the wheat, is yours. And that's those subtle or the gross ideas. The subtle ideas are like the ones that are worthless and petty, but then you have all the major ideas, the major understandings, and ultimately that's really what it is that everything's empty and we're just chasing after the wind. But your mind, the kingdom of heaven is on the inside and the outside of you. But when you look what's on the inside, when the two become one, the inside and the outside and the right and left hemisphere become one. Two brothers make peace in one household, and then when two make peace in one household, the male and female energies, the bride and the groom, and then you got basically the upper and the lower, and you've got the male and the female, and you got basically all that, and then the like above, so below, and you have all that. When you make all these into one energy and you make it into one mind, and then you have it to where you're doing those types of things, and then you strive to be complete and be perfect. And then when you do that, when you become that way, then the universe will submit and show you things, and then then you're chasing after things that are solid, and things that have substance to it. And of course, the universe will give you things and provide you with everything you need, and you learn to trust the universe. So that's really ultimately all there is to it. And then you have this lean operating system, and you're complete. And then when you're complete, and then you're whole, and you become whole, and then you basically have it to where the things you think about, are totally different than what other people think about. When the genie's been let out of the bottle, it can't be put back in. And my reality is far different than anybody else's. So anyway, that's all I got to say.